There's a word here that I'm going to pronounce Schelp, and it means tedious or unpleasant task. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced or not, but that's what we're going to go with. Okay. Reading from paulgraham.com, Schelp Blindness, January 2012. There are great startup ideas lying around unexploited right under our noses. One reason we don't see them is a phenomenon I call Schelp blindness. Schelp was originally a Yiddish word but has passed into general use in the US. It means a tedious, unpleasant task. No one likes no one likes Schelps, but hackers especially dislike them. Most hackers who start startups wish they could do it by just writing some clever software, putting it on a server somewhere, and watching the money roll in, without ever having to talk to users or negotiating with other companies or dealing with other people's broken code. Maybe that's possible, but I haven't seen it. One of the many things we do at YC is teach hackers about the inevitability of shelves. No, you can't start a startup by just writing code. Shelves are not merely inevitable, but pretty much what business consists of. A company is defined by the shelves it will undertake, and shelves should be dealt with the same way you deal with a cold swimming pool. Just jump in. Which is not to say you should seek out unpleasant work per se, but that you should never shrink from it if it's on the path to something great. The most dangerous thing about or dislike of shelves is that much of it is unconscious. Your unconscious won't even let you see ideas that involve painful shelves. That's shelf blindness. The phenomena isn't limited to startups. Most people don't consciously decide not to be in good physical shape as Olympic athletes, for example. Their unconscious mind decides for them, shrinking from the work involved. The most striking example I know of shelf blindness is Stripe, or rather Stripe's idea. For over a decade, every hacker we ever had to process payments online knew how painful the experience was. Thousands of people must have known about this problem, and yet, when they started startups, they decided to build recipe sites or uh, local event aggregators. Why? Why work on problems few care much about or no one will pay for when you could fix one of the most important components of the world's infrastructure? Because shelf blindness prevented people from even considering the idea of fixing payments. Probably no one who applied to YC to work on a recipe site began by asking, should we fix payments or should we build a recipe site? And chose the recipe site. Though the idea of fixing payments was right there in plain sight, they never saw it because their unconscious mind shrank from the complications involved. You would have to make deals with banks. How do you do that? Plus, you're moving money, so you are going to have to deal with fraud and people trying to break into your servers. Plus, there are probably all sorts of regulations to comply with. It's a lot more intimidating to start a startup like this than a recipe site. How do you overcome shelf blindness? Frankly, the most valuable anecdote of shelf blindness is probably ignorance. Most successful founders would probably say that if they'd known when they were starting their company about the obstacles they'd have to overcome, they might never have started. In practice, the founders grow with the problems, but no one seems able to foresee that, not even older, more experienced founders. So the reason younger founders have an advantage is that they make two mistakes that cancel each other out. They don't know how much they can grow, but they also don't know how much they'll need to. Older founders only make the first mistake. Ignorance can't solve everything, though. Some ideas are so obviously and contain alarming shelves that anyone can see them. How do you see ideas like that? The trick I recommend is to take yourself out of the picture. Instead of asking, what problem should I solve? Ask, what problem do I wish someone else would solve for me? If someone who had the process payments before Stripe had tried asking that, Stripe would have been one of the first things they wished for. It's too late now to be Stripe, but that's plenty still broken in the world if you know how to see it.